Hey, it's James from Marketing for Restaurants here, and welcome to episode 131 of Secret Sauce, the restaurant marketing podcast, Aldesco Dining, our guide for restaurants.
Some restaurants are quiet, lose money, and the owner works 70 hours a week. Other restaurants are busy, profitable, and the owners work a few hours a day. What's the difference? They have a secret sauce. Join James from Marketing for Restaurants as he helps you come up with your recipe for restaurant success. Your secret sauce.
Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year! So, it's only the 3rd of February as I record this episode on a dreary and rainy Monday morning. But we're not going to let that get in the way of just how exciting restaurant marketing can be for you and your restaurant. First podcast back for the year, had an amazing holiday. We were away for about 28 days. Traveling around Asia on a cruise. I spent quite a bit of time. We actually went to Singapore 3 times on the cruise. We're going to go through some of the lessons that I learned through that in a series of podcasts, because some really interesting things that we saw, some really interesting pricing things, some really interesting stories that some of the restaurants have got, and some trends that I think a lot of restaurants out there are going to be able to really use to be able to differentiate their product in the marketplace. And I think that is only becoming more important. Looks like it's going to be it's an increasingly tough year. While I was away, of course, significant fires in Australia. We've now got coronavirus. These are the kind of things that, as a small business owner, really start to impact you. And this is why you need to be, I think, a little bit ahead of the game so that you've got a little bit of extra margin in the time that you've got, the prices that you've got, the profitability, your cash, to be able to weather some of these little downturns that happen from time to time. Today, I thought what I would do is I would start with a concept that I've seen written about in a couple of places, and it is definitely, whilst it hasn't had a name up until now, it is definitely something that a lot of restaurants talk to me about as one of the growing trends that is really quite negative for a lot of restaurants. I don't see it as being a negative. I see it as being a change. Wherever there's a change, there's going to be an opportunity. Let's run with the opportunity. Let's do that. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about Aldesco Dining. So, a cute little wordplay on alfresco. We all love a little bit of alfresco dining. What is Aldesco Dining? So we're going to talk about exactly what it is. We're going to talk about why it is a growing trend. And then what we're going to look at is our 7 tips to enable you to be able to deal with this change. Because Aldesco Dining does have a significant impact on restaurant revenue. I know that because we talk to a lot of restaurants and they say that, that lunchtime trade can be so much more difficult to grow. So I think what are the ways that we can look at this trend, look at it, accept it for what it is, and then start creating some product that we can innovate around in our local area to be able to increase the profitability of our restaurants. How does that sound? So, Aldesco Dining. What is Aldesco? It is literally where people are dining at their desk. So rather than going out for lunch and getting something to eat, they are eating at their desk. Now, this creates a little bit of a binary thing there. What is it that they are going to be eating? And I think that is the first question that needs to be looked at. Because there are some people who they'll just bring a sandwich, or they'll bring leftovers from last night's dinner. They will bring something that has been cooked and prepared by themselves into the workplace. Okay, now that's cool and exciting. Why is it that people are dining Aldesco? Now, I'll have to admit that I don't often eat lunch. I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm trying to eat less, and cutting out lunch and breakfast is one of those ways that I've been able to do that. But if I do, I rarely go out. And so we're going to look at some of those reasons as well, because I think it's always important to look at that personal reason, because that's literally where the fight is fought for what is it that someone's going to eat for their lunch. But why is it that people are dining Aldesco? Well, the big thing that I see in our office is that all of our team, we've got lots of work that we need to do, and it's hard to take that time out for that break because all of our team are knowledge workers. So we are relying on them to bring knowledge into, at 9 o'clock when we start, what is it that they know? Because that's what they get paid for, the knowledge that they've got. So, and I think it's really important that people take that time out away from it. But what they'll do is they'll often be researching or learning about how they can do their job better. So that's the little break that they get. It's not a complete break from the environment, but it's definitely a break from their work. They're not working through tickets. They're not creating websites. They're not doing those sort of things, but they're doing something a little bit different, something for them, so that they can be better tomorrow. But as part of that pressure, that's where they see the value in their day. Rather than going out for lunch, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend some time at my desk. Some of our team will go out and get food and then bring it back. Some of them will bring it in. The big trend is this never-ending drive for increasing profitability and productivity. And this, in a lot of businesses, is driving people to dine al desco. And I think a lot of the time it's where you've got, people who have variable income. So it might be where they are commission-based or where they have big bonuses on the line. And, I'm thinking typically your typical merchant banker who he can go out for half an hour or an hour. That's an hour that he's not doing deals. So why would he do that when, he's got such a big bonus on the line? That is the typical al desco kind of eater. But I think that, there's very few of them. It's much more important to think about everyone else who is eating al desco. And we're going to talk about that when we look at the environment. There's a couple of other things that I think are really important. So I like trying to get our team together, to get everyone in the same room so that we can eat and talk and chat about things, sort of build those networks within the team. I'm really keen on that. It's interesting just how difficult it is to do that. So it was someone's birthday last week. We bought pizza for the entire team. And once again, the people cooking the pizza, the restaurant, they left one of the pizzas off. Now, interestingly enough, it was Tina placed the order. It was the Hawaiian pizza. That was the one that Tina wanted. Now, I know what everyone's going to say automatically. Pineapple on a pizza is an abomination. Let's leave that completely alone. But that was the pizza that Tina wanted. Now, yes, mistakes happen and we're really big with that. But I've actually rung the restaurant in the past to give them some open and honest feedback where, some of the things that they've done haven't been right. And I know probably 2 times ago that we ordered from them, so probably about 3 months ago, they were about an hour and a half late. We had all of the team in. I'd called people in from other places as well. And you got the team there, which it's actually really quite expensive to get them in and not do anything. And they were waiting. It ended up being like 3 hours. We probably should have cut it then because that was a very, very, and it's interesting. It's so interesting. They looked at it as a big deal because we'd spent $150 on pizza for everyone. My thing was, I don't really care about the price. The hour is orders of magnitude more in the loss of productivity that we're facing with that. So always think about what it is, that the product that you're delivering to your customers. So let's have a quick look at our 7 tips. First off, we're going to look at the environment in which you are. And I'm talking about the environment in which people are eating and then the environment in which your restaurant operates. We're going to look at the strengths of your restaurant because I think it's always important to play to your strengths. Deliver or pick up. Packaging. Packaging is so important if you're going to be doing this. We'll look at the economics. Just some little tips. Should you actually be worrying about al desco? Or maybe it's something that you shouldn't really be that concerned about. We're going to look at the way that you can use al desco dining to drive more revenue into your restaurant in other channels. And then I'm going to finish off with one that I think is really important and quite exciting and a big opportunity in our area. So let's crack into it. So first up, let's have a think about the environment in which al desco occurs. In our workplace, we've got people who are basically sitting down, eating their meal at their desks. And look, they're doing it so that they can search. They can use their computer. They're searching the internet for whatever it is that they want to do. And, we see some guys, they'll be watching a movie or something in their break. There's a couple of things that come out of that. First off is, what kind of food is it that people are eating? And this is one of the things, when you look at al desco dining, fish head soup it may be popular with the person eating it. And we've had people who have bought in fish head soup. And it was interesting. In our old office, we outgrew our old office. It was like 120 square meters. We had to move into a new office. But our web development team, we had 3 people in a small, tiny office. And Roy, God bless him, would bring in his fish head soup, and it was quite overpowering. So smell is one of the things that you want to think about. Now, I always think that it's important to try and divorce yourself from what your experience is and look at the entire experience. So that is what Aldesco Dining looks like in our office. When I sit and look out on my window, I can often see at lunchtime a lot of delivery trucks parked on the side of the road. And I used to wonder, what is it that those guys are doing there? And then now that I'm up on I've got a first floor office, I look out the window and it's really interesting. Those guys are having their lunch. Now, I view that as Aldesco. It's just, that's their desk. And it is the same for salespeople. You know, any rep who was on the road, any technician who's out repairing stuff, all of those guys and gals, they're going to be eating in their car. So for me, that is Aldesco. That is the opportunity. I think it's a big opportunity for restaurants, cafes, takeaways to be building up relationships with all of those people. And it's interesting. So you've got to really get into the headspace of it and try and fight their daily day to see what it looks like and what the opportunity is. There are a lot of people who are concerned because they're not going to be able to, they might not bring some food along because they're going to struggle to keep it cold. This is one of those things. So they may be looking for somewhere to eat. Some of the research that I've been able to find, and look, this is just research, which is probably what some random dude has come up with and said, you know, I think it's this much. They're saying between 25% of the people in Australia, and, you know, I don't think that Australia is very different from the UK or the US, are dining Aldesco on a regular basis in their office or factory or wherever it is that they're working. I think it's probably more when you can... Like, let's take that little bit of a broader definition, people who are eating in their work environment. And that's going to include all of the, you know, taxi drivers, all of those sort of people. What is it that they are doing? So this creates a big opportunity. Now, the next part that we want to look at in the environment is your restaurant. Okay, where is it? And when I say where's your restaurant, they'll tell me the suburb. No. Let's go a little bit closer than that. Very quickly, I've spoken about it a couple of times. In Buenos Aires, when I was there, which admittedly was 5 or 6 years ago, I really do need another excuse to go back to Buenos Aires because it's an amazing place. There would be people walking around with silver service delivering food to the local shops. Now, if you are a shop owner and you are the only person who works there, you probably don't have someone to cover you for lunch. So you can't go out to get lunch. You will eat your lunch Aldesco. Okay, so, and these will be people who weren't included in those facts and figures before. They're eating Aldesco as well. The little small business owner who can't get away. Is there the opportunity to go to them and say, would you like some lunch? I can bring it to you. Now, it might be, how far are you prepared to walk, or how far are you prepared to have one of your front of house team walk? You know, if it's a 5-minute walk, but you can get someone who's going to eat with you and spend maybe $15 twice a week, that's $30. That's $1,500 a year. What if you get 20 of those customers? That's going to be an extra $30,000 in revenue. Your food costs are 30%. So what we're looking at, $21,000 in profit. Now, and that's picking up 20 customers. And 20 customers who are going to be really appreciative of you because it's the time that they're going to actually get a proper meal cooked for them that is going to be brought to them that they're going to be able to eat. Big opportunity. You know, what high-rise buildings are there? Do you have a lot of people who will be... So we're in a office/industrial area. There would be lots of reps around who are kind of looking for a place that they can get a decent meal. Interesting. So have a think about the environment. Have a think about just who is there in there at lunchtime, whether it's people passing through or all of the businesses. If you've got a high-rise building with, you know, 1,000 office workers in there, then dining Aldesco, massive opportunity. I was talking to one of our customers a while ago, and they had a huge number of people who would come in for coffee. And then one day the business owner came in and he said, my God, there's a lot of people having coffee here. And he put his own coffee, his own little cafeteria in the office so that he could cut down on the time that people were spending away. That's not what you want to drive. But if you've got a substantial offering there, then it makes it a lot easier to be able to have something that's going to be hard to compete against. It's hard to create great burgers, which is the opportunity to draw those people back. Now, the trends. Okay, so we talked about, check out our episode on the big trends for 2020. In fact, I think that was 2 episodes. Okay, straight up, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we talk about it quite a bit. Healthy dining, vegan, veg, flex, gluten-free. What are your offerings there? Someone who needs a gluten-free diet, they're going to struggle to be able to find that. We know that's the feedback that we get from a lot of restaurants and from a lot of customers. So big opportunity there. The way I want to position the messaging that you put out, though, is if someone's dining al desco, then I think there's probably a big opportunity to say this is going to be the healthiest meal that you're going to eat all day. Because what is it that person's going to go home? If they're not dining out, and let's face it, most people don't, if they're not dining out, what is it they're going to be eating? Is it going to be baked beans on toast? Is it going to be some sausages? Is it going to be just something really pretty rudimentary, not great for them? Could be some toasted sandwiches. I know I've done that on occasion. Well, I do it fairly often. That's not going to be great. So this is the opportunity to say, okay, so we've got a healthy meal. It includes all of these freshly sourced items. Not only does it taste amazing, it's going to be amazing for you. Get on it. So think about your al desco offering that is going to be a little bit more healthy for people, because we know that is one of the things that people are looking for. Now, the next thing we want to think about is the strengths. If you are a burger joint, then you might want to have 1 or 2 healthy options. You might want to have more than that, but you don't want to be working really hard to create a specific al desco offering that is off-brand for you. Because it's hard to be able to tell just how good that is. You don't really have a lot of proof points there about your unique selling proposition for an al desco product if you're not an expert in whatever the food is that you're offering. If it's a great burger joint, then how are you going to create an al desco experience that's epic for your customers? If it is Indian food. And so we're starting to think now about what is it that you do great, and then how does that fit in an al desco concept? And I think that that's really important. So if you are, for instance, an epic Chinese restaurant, do you want to have a fixed price meal? What is the product that me as an al desco person wants? I may walk to your restaurant to pick it up. That's great. So we're going to do some takeout. Or I might want it delivered because my time is too precious and I don't want to get up from my desk. So please deliver the food to me. What is it that I'm looking for? Does it need to be cheap? When is it going to be delivered? Do we need an idea about those sort of timeframes? We'll talk a little bit later about your in-restaurant offering as well. Is there a time part of that? So looking for a quick 30-minute meal, here's our $15 offer. It comes with a drink, an entree, and a main, and here are our 3 main offerings around that. That's the kind of thing that you might want to be thinking about. And just a quick point on that. So on Friday night, we had Indian food. It was okay. I've got to tell you, there's a massive opportunity for an amazing Indian restaurant. We ate at Lagna Barefoot in Singapore. The food there is completely amazing, and we're going to talk a lot more about their product. I actually asked K7, the chef out there, if he could open up a restaurant in Narrowong, because it would be a lot more convenient to me than actually flying all the way to Singapore. But so we got the food delivered on Friday. Our first Indian meal since we returned. It was disappointing because it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it's Indian food. It was still pretty good. The interesting thing with that is that I'll be dining al desco tomorrow because I'm going to be working late. I'll have lunch and that will be that Indian. So there's a lot of restaurants out there who are already part of the al desco component, because we order a lot of Indian food. It's more than $100, but we get multiple meals out of it. That has just sort of evolved in our household, which I think is another interesting little point. So think about the strengths that you've got in your restaurant. Now, are you going to do delivery or are you going to do pickup? If you're going to do delivery, are you going to use a third party? Once again, I would be saying, let's have a rational think about it. If they're going to be taking 35%, then it's probably not worthwhile doing it. If they're not going to give you the customer details, then it's probably not worthwhile doing it. Pickup is kind of a no-brainer. Then I think you strike a really nice harmony between people stuck at their desk. Maybe they're going to walk for 5 minutes to your restaurant, get the food, and then come back. In that case, they don't want to be spending 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes waiting for the food to be ready. The pickup time becomes a lot more important there. Have a think about how you're going to structure it, the economics of it. The third parties, I think, and it's interesting, we'll probably talk a little bit more about the economics of the third party deliverers, the Grubhubs, the Uber Eats. They're in a battle to the death now, and I think it's becoming increasingly difficult for them because not many of them are profitable. And this is the big thing that needs to be addressed. Yes, customers love the convenience, but how are we going to be able to do that in an economically profitable way? So I think delivery or pickup. Talked a lot about that in the past, so I won't bore everyone with it. Packaging. Talked a little bit about this. I think pizza in general doesn't travel that well. It's okay, but not great. What is the food that you've got? The offering that you're going to put together, think about the environment that it's going to be consumed and the way that you want it to look and the kind of experience that you want your customer to have. Burgers, difficult to transport. I think we all need to accept that. Chips, very, very dependent on timeliness because no one eats cold chips. No one reheats the chips from yesterday. That's just one of those issues. Compare and contrast with what I said, 5 minutes ago. I'm eating Indian food that's, 4 days old. And if I had to say which was better, I'd say that the food that's got an extra 4 days on it probably tastes a bit better because the herbs and spices have had that bit more time to marry up with the meat. Think about the packaging and think about the way that the food's actually going to end up on someone's desk. That's important. The other thing where I think that there's a big opportunity in thinking about Aldesco dining is the concept of a lunchbox. Kids, when they went to school, they would go along with a lunchbox. They'd have all their food in there for the day. What does that look like with the current menu that you've got or a menu that you could create? What does a little lunchbox look like that people could take on almost on a grab and go basis? I've seen places do that. Sometimes it's for events. Sometimes it's for high traffic areas. I've seen cafes do it as well, where they will do coffees and they do them in advance just because they know that they can't actually keep up with the demand. So if you want a coffee, there it is, ready to go, and it's just one type of coffee, pre-done for you, because of the fact that they're looking at the weakness that they've got is the throughput of the machine. So what does a lunchbox design look like? Could you work out a way that some sort of offer that's going to be super comfortable or super exciting and appealing to customers? So particularly if you've got a lot of walk-by custom, people are just going to say, I could grab that, I could be back in the office in 5 minutes, and then I've got a nice, healthy meal, certainly a lot nicer than what I would have been eating. So I'm doing something for my health, and it's a nice break. This is going to be the perfect opportunity. And the use of the term lunchbox, or whatever it is in your country, whatever it is that takes people back to that time when they were in school, maybe, just maybe, that's going to work for you. That's going to give you that competitive edge when you're trying to create that marketing message that you want to get across. That's going to be the psychological hook that you're going to get people to try it. They try it for that first time. The food's amazing. Then, that's how you create those repeat customers. Next one, we want to think about the economics of it. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So, are you open for lunch? And I think this is one of those things. The more hours that you're open, then obviously the more hours that you can contribute to the fixed costs of your restaurant. That's important. But it also means the more hours that people are going to be working. So it needs to be profitable from an hourly point of view. And so you need to think about that. But you've got to strike this balance between the number of hours that you're going to be open. The big thing with that is if you've got processes in place and you've got the right people in your organization, then you're probably going to have a much better experience. So you don't want to be running all of these hours. But the sign of a really strong restaurant business is where the restaurant is open 80 hours a week and the owner is working 50 or 60 hours. You've got that 20 hours where someone else is able to take responsibility for running of the restaurant. That's really cool. And that enables you, that gives you the freedom of action that you need to be able to run a more economic business. If you're going to say, I will be there for every hour that the restaurant is open, that really limits your freedom of action, and it also impinges fundamentally on your lifestyle. And I'm a big believer that, you don't want to be a slave to the business because far too many restaurant owners are slaves to the business. So, Aldesco Dining, tip number 7 is, use Aldesco Dining to drive more revenue. So, if you've got someone's email address and you know that they've ordered Aldesco Dining, then what is it that you can do to drive more revenue. So how do we make Aldesco dining better? One of the things is, you can offer it to an entire company. Get the people there, give them some sort of offer, give them a coupon that they can hand out to all of their workmates, so that rather than getting, in a business that employs 50 people, rather than getting one person ordering from them, what if they grouped their order up and you got 15 meals a day? That could be a massive revenue opportunity for you. So, coupons, get them to be the evangelists for your business. If you've got their email address, can you get them to come in for dinner? Can you get them to come in for breakfast? Can you get them to make a booking? All of these sort of things. Aldesco Dining can be one of those things that you can use to drive the revenue across multiple channels. Do you have a happy hour offer? So it might be, if someone finishes at 5:30, maybe they're going to come in for just a little bit of food and maybe a beer to sit down with a couple of work colleagues. Could you become that place? Obviously, if you don't open at 5:30 and they finish at 5:30, then they're going to go home. But if you're open, and I'm a big believer, if your happy hour menu, if it's low drag on the kitchen, can be really good, because people are going, hey, I want to discuss something with you, or it's been a tough week, let's go and have a few beers and we'll catch up and debrief. That's that opportunity to create a new product in your restaurant. You got the team in there anyway. Front of house is cleaning up and getting ready for service. Back of house is prepping. So you've got your 5 happy hour meals. They're nice and cheap, and you're going to sell a few beers along with it. Hey, that means that the night is off to a good start. And more importantly, if you're relying on walk-in traffic, people are seeing, hey, it's 5:30 and there's people in there. This place has got to be pretty cool. So think about that. Think about what the opportunities are for to drive more revenue from your Aldesco customers. Now, the last one is the dine-in option. So this is the absolute opposite of dining Aldesco. What is the product that people want? So there's a lot of people who want productivity. Now, if I'm a stockbroker with 4 large monitors that I'm sitting in front of and I'm trading away, literally bring me my burger now. I'm going to get someone else to even order it for me because I'm focused on making a truckload of money, which is fine. And that's cool. And that's a certain product that you need to cater for. But unless you're in a stockbroking area, there's probably not going to be a lot of those people out there. What about the opportunity to bring people into your restaurant? And I see this all the time. One of my pet peeves while I was away was trying to find a place where I could just sit down and have some quiet time. And often it was so loud. And I said in some places, can we turn the music down because it's really loud? And I was surprised at how often that didn't happen. I wanted somewhere where I could have a little bit of quiet time, have a quiet conversation with someone, and often the music was too loud, or there wasn't free Wi-Fi, or there was something else wrong with the offering that they had. You've got to think about what the offering is that you've got. I would like to have somewhere where I could take team members out and we could just have a one-on-one lunch. Maybe once every couple of months I take everyone out from the team and we talk about stuff. But in our area, the food isn't super great, and often, there's people who are focused on delivering a fine dining meal, which is great, except for the fact that it takes so long. Now, if I'm taking time out of my day, and I work really long hours, so I start to begrudge, if I plan for an hour and it takes 2 hours, that's an hour out of my day. And that is literally, it means that some of my work isn't going to get done, or I'm going to be working back an extra hour. So I'm not really super happy with that, super keen on it. So I'm looking for something that is, good quality, not an 18-course degustation menu, but, a tasty, entree and main, maybe just even a tasty main, maybe just a good burger and chips, something that I can take the team out to, something that's economical so I could do it on an ongoing basis, and something where we can talk comfortably and it's going to be fast. Have a think about trying to go against this Aldesco dining trend. And it's interesting because, I would like to see more people dining out, in my office, because I think, take some time out from work, recharge in the middle of the day, have a nice meal, Go out with one or two of your colleagues. I would like to take some of my colleagues out to be able to sit down and chat with them, talk about the issues that we've got, how we're going to drive the company forward. But there's nowhere. We've tried lots of places and it's hard to find that. So have a think about that. Think about the environment that you're creating for the kind of people who you want to have there. Think about the music. Yes, it's nice if you've got your rappy music that you love listening to blaring, but I may not like listening to that music, particularly when I'm trying to have a meeting. And there's so many people who will have a meeting, they will use a restaurant as a meeting place or a cafe as a meeting place because they're operating from home. Once again, another one of these growing trends. Once again, the opportunity to get someone out, have a meal with someone. What is it that you're doing? You're actually providing a place that they can have social interaction. They probably don't want to have that meeting at home. So something that's cheap, something that's economical and quick, that could be the start of building a really strong lunch trade. And then you've got that strong lunch trade, then the dinner trade's just going to really probably take care of itself. I know there are some places that have a strong lunch trade because they're in an area that really builds on, creates the opportunity for a strong lunch trade, and then they struggle at night. But there's so many more restaurants, I think, that have got a really strong dinner trade, and lunch trade is just not so good. So there you have it. We've covered off on our tips for you to be able to take the advantage of the Aldesco dining trends. Have a look at your environment around you. Think about where people are going to be actually eating the meal. And on top of that, what are the kind of businesses? Where are people congregating around your restaurant? That will feed into the product that you're going to deliver and whether you're actually going to deliver it, whether it'll be pick out. Lots of important thinking to be done in the environmental component of it. Look at the trends. Obviously, healthy eating's a big one, and I think there's an opportunity there to come up with a product that's going to have that little bit of an edge that people want when they're looking for something for their lunchtime meal. Look at the strengths of your restaurants. You don't want to be doing anything too crazy that's going to put pressure on the kitchen, particularly if you're busy, but you want to be playing to the strengths, the brand strengths, your kitchen strengths, your service strengths, all of the strength, your team strengths, all of the strengths that you've got. That's where you're going to be able to find the most profitable opportunities. Have a think about whether you're going to be doing delivery or pickup. I think there's a lot to be thought about there. Really comes down to the economics of it. So review the economics. Should you be doing this? Is it something that you need to worry about? Or is it a fundamental opportunity to change the economics of your business? Obviously, the more hours that you're going to be open, it's going to be tied to the amount of time that you've got to spend in the restaurant, unless you've got some epic procedures. So think about epic procedures. Packaging's so important, whether it's going to be a lunchbox, whatever it is that you're going to do to protect your food, to provide an experience that when someone opens it up on their desk, they go, hey, this looks awesome, I'm going to enjoy eating this, rather than looking like something that should have been at the bottom of the garbage bin. Which is the way that a lot of meals do arrive. Not everything travels well. Chips would probably be the worst offender in that, I think. So use Aldesco Dining to drive more revenue. Use it to build your database. Use it to build revenue in off-peak times. Use it to... Could you do a morning tea or an afternoon tea? Just thought of that just then. Use it to drive people into the restaurant for dinner. Could you open up a breakfast offering as well? Some interesting opportunities there when you're looking at revenue. And lastly, maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't be giving up the good fight. Think about the product that you offer during that lunch trade so that you don't give up and just say, well, everyone's dining at their desk. No. Get them to come into your restaurant. Get them to experience something that they can't experience in their office. Or particularly if you're dealing with people who are operating from their home office, get them to get out, get them to have a meeting in your restaurant, get them to have a good, healthy meal. Plenty of opportunity there. So that's it. We've covered off on what it is and the ways that you can benefit from Aldesco Dining. Keen to see what you're seeing in the marketplace and how you are responding to this trend, which I think is a big trend. And I think more and more people are going to be dining at their desk. Whether that's good or bad, it will have an economic impact on your business. You need to be thinking about that so that you can have the best business that you can. That's about it. You have a glorious week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Want more customers for your restaurant, cafe or takeout? Every month, our marketing tools and information are used by thousands of restaurant owners just like you to help them find more customers and turn them into repeat customers. All of our tools and information is designed specifically for restaurant owners. We know you don't have a lot of time to spend marketing or learning complicated procedures, so our tools are quick and easy to use. If you're looking to increase your revenue and profits or want to work less hours, check out marketingforrestaurants.com.